Thanks for coming. It's a beautiful day. There's all kinds of things on the program, so let's get started. The purpose statement, and let's read that together. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. We have a few things coming up. We're continuing our book club. Anand Kara, Celtic Wisdom book. Hope you're all enjoying it. But Karen, one of our members here, is doing on July 11th, a summertime fun lunch and paint. Okay, I'm going to do it this time. Also, we have the gong meditation coming up. That's a lot of fun. You lie down and she plays the drums and the gongs, and it's very powerful. And Amanda, who's in the back, is going to join us on our ever-growing and fabulous prac corps here. We are the ones that hold you up in prayer, the high watch. It's really kind of nice. We take it very seriously here. Okay, Amanda, congratulations. And Tomoko, the administrator, who also holds everything together more than we do, her son got a BS in engineering at Cal Poly Pomona. Congratulations. That's great. And my granddaughter, Jordan, she's in there with the junior church. And then our beautiful Emily Reisling, who started as a baby, she graduated last June, but a BA in vocal at Cal State Fullerton, but she had her ceremony recently. And then another beloved church member, Susie, who's always here doing the coffee fellowship and a lot more. She's at a graduation on the East Coast for her son, Jonathan. And then Sally, your step-grandson, also will graduate from Cal Poly Pomona. So congratulations on all of them. Oh, the Sizzling Summer Raffle, that's lots of fun. And I know there's Clippers tickets, there's a $100 gift card, and there's timeshare for a trip, and there's all kinds of things on the program. So let's get started. And knowing that we are all of like mind here, whatever we want to call our higher power, our higher self. Some call it God, some call it love, some call it peace. We just know that's the divine spirit within all of us. Knowing that we can always come back to this quiet spot in us. Knowing there's no judgment here. And that's what God really is. It's an unconditional love. And we all have this common thing. We sometimes call it the golden rule, because it weaves in and throughout every religion and philosophy. And it's easy to do and come find ourselves here and commune with our higher spirit. Again, this is an opportunity where we take this time to thank those who make this service possible. First, I'll start with all of you and we're starting to fill up, and I think tomorrow we finally open back up to something that we remember as being normal. Together, we've been very lucky because we're still open and we still have a place to commune together, worship, a safe place. And then afterwards, we get together for our special coffee fellowship where we can talk to one another, share, again, in a safe space. I want to thank Tommy, who brings us beautiful music each week, the teachers in junior church that bring this philosophy into early lives, maybe some tools that are here in this philosophy to make it easier. Reverend Dr. Bill is going to bring a message that you'll resonate. Something in there will be just meant for you, thinking, wow, how did he know that was going on in my life? So that's a good thing. And the Ministry of Prayer and our practitioners. Tomoko for keeping us together all these years through challenges, but look, it's all love. We're all here. And so let the service begin. Here we are, and so it is.
Need to be still, let God love me. still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
When I was putting my reading together, I'm thinking, well, I know truth to power. And I think that means being honest to ourselves and the power that's in that. Because we're all children of God, made in the image and likeness. Looking for my reading today, I found a little story from Willie Nelson, the musician. And it's from Marlo Thomas's book, who got a lot of people together, and they wrote stories, short stories about the right words at the right times and the things they heard that inspired them to what they became. So here he goes. I grew up in a town in Texas called Abbott. It's a small country town. The incomes around there, like all farm towns, are farm related. You either owned a farm or you worked on one, manning cotton gins and stuff. No one had any money, but everybody raised his own food in a garden behind the house, where the farmer also had chickens and a couple of hogs. As I grew older and ran into other people from other places, they said, "Man, that must have been pretty tough for you." But he says life wasn't tough in Abbott. In fact, it was a place to grow up. The population was only 300, and it still is. The school was small, and there weren't a lot of kids in the classes. So you got more attention from the teachers and had more opportunity to learn. Whether we did it or not, though, was entirely up to us. School was okay, but I liked church better. As far back as I can remember, I was singing in a gospel choir on Sundays, singing Amazing Grace. It was a song we sang every week. It was one of the first melodies I ever heard. Later in life, the preacher from that church told me it was the first song he remembered me singing. There I was at 6 or 7, walking through the streets of Abbott, singing Amazing Grace. Even at a young age, there was never a doubt in my mind about what those words meant. Some of them are, "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see." They're all about faith and positive thinking, which to me are the same things. It's a pretty daily occurrence how Amazing Grace seems to rescue me at the right time. See, I live and breathe around negative stuff. It's all around me, and it always has been since I decided to become a musician. I'd been writing poems since I was 5 and playing guitar since I was 6. But no matter how much I loved music, I still prepared a backup by studying law at Baylor University, because that is something I thought I'd need to fall back on, just in case the music didn't work out. Didn't take long for me to realize that writing, performing, and singing songs was what I was meant to do. But what other people thought was always an entirely different issue. If I had to break it down, I'd say about 99% of the people in my life were always telling me I wasn't going to be anything. All that adversity and lack of faith ended up just strengthening my own convictions. All that negativity really helped me in the end, because there's no better inspiration for doing something than having somebody say you cannot do it. Between that and the positive message of Amazing Grace, which is so much a part of me, like my DNA, I felt like I had something to prove, and I had the power to prove it. And it's still that way. No matter how much success I've had, I still have to prove myself all the time. Maybe it's to the people who are always coming up with different ideas for my songs to write. Or maybe it's against all the unfortunate circumstances and challenges I have faced. I had financial problems. I've had failed marriages. In that sense, it was always a good thing that I was able to sing Amazing Grace, and I do it on stage every night. That song rescued me many, many times, and it helps me believe that everything is going to be all right. The more I believe it, the better chance I have of getting through my troubles. If you start acting like you feel good, whether you believe it or not, that is just the beginning. Just act like you believe it for a while, and then something, I promise, will come along. I'm not the only one who responds to that song. Those lyrics sent a universal message. Everybody knows the chorus to Amazing Grace. All the musicians I know love that song, and nobody ever resists singing it. I've performed it all over the world, even where people don't speak English, and they still feel the power of Amazing Grace. There's a reason for that maybe we can't completely explain. It strikes a tone, it hits a chord that cuts through all the BS of the day and goes right to our bones. The words in the melody have a healing quality. It brings us peace, and it lets us know that there are people in the world who are going through the same thing, if not more. A lot of times when I perform that song, people start singing it along, just like we used to at church. And everyone benefits from that church-like atmosphere. Whether we go to church or not, you don't have to be sitting in a pew to feel that sense of spirituality. We all are living in our own churches. Our bodies are our temples. And at least that's why they told me when I was growing up that Amazing Grace makes you feel the hope of church wherever you are. I try to catch that same feel of that hymn in all my songs, and some sort of light that is always at the end of the tunnel. None of my songs are entirely helpless or hopeless. That's been entirely intentional. I'm always trying to find the path to get us through the hard times. Nice words. Let us bow our head in prayer. Thank you, God, for the gift of life and the opportunity of being alive here on beautiful Mother Earth. Let's be grateful for the opportunity to open ourselves up to you and to explore what true healing, love, and prosperity really are, that which is always found in the heart. Help us to quiet our minds, to listen within to the great silence, and to affirm with faith, trust, and confidence the drawing power of divine love. It's our gift. It's a gift to all of us. It's a magnet for constantly increasing faith and supply. Yours is a universe of plenty. It is not for the greedy or those with a closed heart. Love is forgiving, and help us to be love finders, love givers to ourselves, to others, and to those less fortunate. To life itself, to Mother Earth, to our great Creator. Help us walk a path of true love, true prosperity, enjoying our gifts of unconditional love. Healing through joining, forgiveness, compassion, kindness, generosity, creativity, and joyfulness. Help us to find ways to meet our needs that promote the vitality, diversity, and sustainability of life for all people. The two-legged, the winged people, the swimming people, the tall, straight people, the plant people, all of us. Help us to cross the bridge of patience to the prosperity of inner peace by surrendering to our divine order and divine timing. And so it is.
When I forget the way seems dark, I've lost the song in my heart. I look inside my heart and soul, start again, knowing I'm home. God is right. right here where I am. I am right here where I should be. As I feel my mind with peace, I feel it washing over me. God is right here where I am. I am right here where I should be. As I fill my mind with peace, I feel it washing over me. God is right here where I am, flowing in and out and through me. In this moment, I am free.
So, in keeping with our month's theme, Truth to Power, well, it's not just people in power who talk truth to power. In fact, the whole thing, it's all about us talking truth to power, those of us who aren't in power. And I'm going to do something I don't usually do. Okay? Because today I've decided I'm going to read to you.
Yay.
I'm reading today the juiciest juice from the late, great Dr. Seuss. And I think that this reading will make it quite clear that if there's a message we're needing to hear, we can get it without all the load full of jumble that causes us to sometimes stumble, or tumble, or fumble, or maybe crumble. So the truth to be shown, to be told, to be shared, can be delivered without making us scared. It's really quite simple if one simply looks at what's between the cover of these Dr. Seuss books. This is just one, okay? But within this, there's stuff from all of, well, not all of them, but many of Dr. Seuss's books. And it doesn't have to be Dr. Seuss. It could be Winnie the Pooh. It's just that somehow I didn't think many people get excited coming to Sanctuary to hear about Poohisms. But it could have been Sesame Street, it could have been Mr. Rogers, right? The fact is, what we learn from children's books, and it's like Debra was talking about earlier, what we learn from them is the basic truths. And look at that, what's that other book? Everything I Need to Learn About Life I Learned in Kindergarten. It's not that we don't have the tools. It's just that sometimes over the years, well, the blades get dull, the handles break, they don't work quite as well as they used to, because we need to hone them from time to time. So I'm going to talk about some Seuss-isms, and I'm going to start with the ones that don't rhyme, because there were some of those. So I want to talk about, he says, sometimes the questions are complicated and the answers are simple. Don't we find that? Don't we complicate? Don't we convolute? Don't we, like, sometimes go to great lengths to word things and make it so difficult it's almost impossible for us to answer? We've got to cut through the nonsense to get to the storyline, to get to the real answer. Another thing he said was, you have to be odd to be number one. One is not an even number.
No.
So there's nothing wrong with being odd. As a matter of fact, I watched a TED Talk a while back. The title of it, I think, was Why Most People Are Wrong. Well, if you go along with the thinking of most people, you're just going to be wrong. And it's so easy for us to do that. And as kids, what do we call that? Peer pressure. And really, peer pressure, if you don't succumb to that as a child, you're labeled as odd. So it's okay to be odd, rather than to be even in the mix with everybody else, doing things that might not make any sense or might seem to make sense only because everybody's doing it. So if everybody's doing it, that just means it's pretty easy, isn't it? And before I get into the book, the last thing I want to talk about is this. Oh, the things you can find if you don't stay behind. Isn't that part of our teaching? We talk about living in the past, staying behind, and all the problems that causes us. Because we can't control anything from the past. We can't define the future from the past. We can't even live meaningfully in the present if we're in the past. Just can't be done. But let's get to Dr. Seuss, because I know that my pedestrian attempt at poetry leading into this is, not as good as his. So this book starts out, it tells us it's a guide to life. This is not a kid's book. This is the guide to life. This is the human pattern. If we'll follow this, it will lead us to our divinity. No, scratch that. Because we're never separate from our divinity. It will lead us back to the awareness of our divinity. Because the only thing that's ever in between us and God is our refusal to be present to that. A guide to life for those just starting out and those already on their way. Sometimes those of us already on our way, we forget what it was like to be a child. And when you were a child, try to remember, didn't you know the truth? Of course we did. We knew the truth. Sometimes we just got talked out of it. The master teacher Jesus, remember, said we should be like little children. And he didn't mean that we should remain this tall. He was talking about remaining true to who we are and to living from that truth and not letting the world jade us and corrupt us and talk us out of it. You ever tried to talk a little kid out of something? Come on. The best negotiators in the UN got nothing on a 6-year-old girl, let me tell you. It's just not happening. All right, so, from all the places you'll go, be true to yourself. Isn't that what we're talking about? Here's a passage from that. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the one who will decide where to go. And isn't that so? Sometimes we get steered. The phrase bum steer just flashed through my brain. I don't know how that happened. But sometimes don't we get steered in directions, and even, especially as kids, don't we say to ourselves, this doesn't sound right to me. This doesn't feel right. There's something wrong. When I grow up, I'm not doing this. And if we remember that, what happens when we grow up? We don't do it. We don't do it. We remember Dr. Seuss and we say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm going my own way. I've got a head, and as long as my feet are working, I'm taking them in the direction that I know is best for me. Oh, but there is a caveat from Dr. Seuss. He says, I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. Ooh. So, I beg your pardon, we never promised you a rose garden. Give those lyrics to Willie Nelson. Oh wait, that's right, he already has them. And you know, speaking of that, let me just get away from this for a second, because you know, when he was talking about we being a temple, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity with his wife Myrtle, remember what he said? Inside of each of us, at all times, there's a church service going on. If we just want to sit and be still and listen to it and be part of it, we don't have to go far. We don't have to go anywhere. We already are everywhere. We are the very definition of everywhere and everything. Because we are responsible for this entire universe that we see. Our world manifests directly from what we process in our minds. Everybody ever eat a popover? Yeah. Well, there was this book, The Art of Eating Popovers, where he said, my uncle ordered popovers from the restaurant's bill of fare, and when they were served, he regarded them with a penetrating stare. Then he spoke great words of wisdom as he sat there on that chair. To eat these things, said my uncle, you must exercise great care. You may swallow down what's solid, but you must spit out the air. And as you partake of the world's bill of fare, that's darn good advice to follow. Do a lot of spitting out the hot air. And be careful what you swallow. Who's ever had hot air, I don't know, from let's just say, our religion. God, there's some hot air there, isn't there? Mm-hmm. And our job is to spit that out. It's to take it all in, listen to it all, because why? We are open at the top. We're willing and able to listen to everything from everybody. And when you're done listening and sifting it through that child naivety, that heartfelt being that you are, you keep what's good and you spit out the air. Oh, could there possibly be more? I like this guy. Oh yeah. Don't be afraid to accept help. I floated 12 days without toothpaste or soap. I practically almost had given up hope. When someone up high shouted, "Here, catch the rope," then I knew that my troubles had come to an end, and I climbed up the rope, calling, "Thank you, my friend." That's for those times when we kind of get that thought, when we get swept up in that worldly condition, especially here in our Western culture, right? I can do it myself. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, Bill. You ever tried that? just for giggles, just lean down and try to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's part of that hot air that we're just going to spit out, right? there's not only nothing wrong with taking help, it's absolutely a requirement to navigate this world. And I dare say that might even be the reason there's more than one of me. There's more than one person. Because it takes two to talk about something, and it takes two or more to work things out, and to make a community, and to allow us to live in that Christ consciousness that is our birthright. Sure be difficult to do that if we were the only person in the world, wouldn't it? Who would you take your troubles to? Where would you find a practitioner? Ah, yes. I have heard there are troubles of more than one kind. Some come from ahead and some come from behind. But I bought a big bat. I'm all ready, you see. Now my troubles are going to have troubles with me. So I'm pretty certain we're not talking about going and getting a bat and carrying it around and beating everybody that disagrees with you. But I think if you could just stretch that mind muscle a little bit, we'll see that that's very similar to that saying, don't tell God about how big your problems are. Tell your problems about how big your God is. Because yes, with truth, with clarity, with spiritual awareness, what could possibly come our way that we can't, with that bat, take care of? If you're a ball player, you'd say that you just knock it out of the park. You'd knock the cover off that ball, wouldn't you? With my bat of truth and beauty and love, compassion, forgiveness, there's nothing I can't take care of with that. Unless I'm just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for a wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake or a pot to boil or a bed of break, or a string of pearls or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone's just waiting. Except us. We're not waiting. We don't wait for something good to happen to us, do we? No. We demand something good happens to us. Right now and every right now that we're ever going to experience. And we demand it because that's our birthright. Because we're made in the image and likeness of God, there is nothing that is not available to us. The only thing that can stop all the good in the world from coming to me is me. There's no other power that can stop that. Because there's only one power. And if I'm using that one power for good, how can I not get everything that I could ever possibly want? And I know we've all been waiting for this because, yes, Mrs. McGillicuddy, everybody does like Dr. Seuss. And they like him, and I think this was from the first ever book of his, 1957. Do you know that Dr. Seuss, that's not his name, by the way. That's his middle name. That's his mother's maiden name. His last name was Geisel. But because he was a satirist, he did political cartoons back in the Second World War. And when he was in college, the stuff that he wrote, and you got to remember, this is in the 40s and the 50s. If you lived through them, you know those were not liberal, wide open, open to all times. Those were pretty restrictive. But at the college where he wrote on the paper, they finally said, "Listen, you're out. You can't write anything anymore." So he started writing under the name of Dr. Seuss. But from his very first children's book, I think this was, it's about trying new things. God, why would we try new things? Doesn't everything we do already work? Well, maybe not. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. You do not like them, so you say. Try them, and you may. Try them and you may, I say. And that's all about us. Trying new things, listening. When the doorbell rings, and I open up the door, and there's these two splendid-looking gentlemen in their coats and ties with the Bible in their hand, I listen to them. I'm not going to buy into that whole program, but they might have something to say that stirs something in me about what I have forgotten, and it might send me back into a little bit more awareness of my spirituality. So I'd like to invest 20, 30 minutes and hear what they have to say. And generally it's true. Once I shut the door, I've got some air to spit out. But spit it out I do, and then I get on with my Seuss-isms. I'm going to, just a couple more and I'm going to wrap it up. And I saw on this hill, since my eyesight's so keen, the two biggest fools that have ever been seen. And the fools that I saw were none other than you, who seem to have nothing else better to do than sit here and argue who's better than who. Who is better than who? Are there some things that some of us might be better at than others? Well, yeah, I dare say. We have doctors, and we have physicists, and we have railroad engineers, and we have ball players, and we have office administrators. And these people are all better at what they do than I am, and most of us are. But kids' stories, to me, are kind of like the parables of Jesus. There are so many different levels. There's the level that you can just literally, take it literally and learn a lesson from it, or you can go at some depth and learn a little bit deeper lesson, or a deeper lesson still. And the deeper lesson here is this: getting away from things we do in the world, talking about arguing about who's better. There's no such thing as better. Remember, everybody we're ever going to meet is our spiritual equal. I got shocking news for you. You are Jesus Christ's spiritual equal. We just don't act like it a lot of times. But the fact is, taken to its logical conclusions, we have the use of that very same power that he used. If we'll just get to it. If we'll just reach down and use that spirituality that's available to us for the purpose that God created in us for it to do. Oh, yeah, so, well, maybe one more, because this is, to me, this is so apropos. One more, before the end. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered the wagons, I biggered the loads of the needs I shipped out. I was shipping them forth from the south to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. And I'm not going to argue with that, because I think if we're going to get through this world, it'd be nice to have those creature comforts. But if we're going to be bickering, why don't we bigger our spirituality, bigger our open-heartedness, bigger our capacity for compassion, forgiveness, and love and community, bigger our ability to absorb beauty and to live in it, to be it. Here's the last Seuss-ism I want to leave you with. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. Shout aloud, I am glad to be what I am. Thank goodness I'm not a ham or a clam or a dusty old jar of gooseberry jam. I am what I am. What a great thing to be. If I say so myself. I love being me. We are to love being ourselves. I wanted to end with that because next week, cheap plug here. Next week, we're going to be talking about the philosophy of Popeye. I am what I am. And that's all that I am. So, let's just say thank you, God, for Dr. Seuss, and let's take the message of Dr. Seuss into our very souls. No, let's don't do that. Let's take it out of our very souls, because it's already in there. It was put in there when we were created. It was put in there the very nanosecond that the mind of God thought us up. So let's dust it off. Let's put it back in the game. Let's know that the purity, the sweetness, the straightforwardness of the child is still within us. And if we have to read Dr. Seuss to remind ourselves of that, hey, let's just do it. Let's just know that everything that was available to us at any time, or will be available at any time, is available right here, right now. All we have to do is recognize it, accept it, and live it. So it's with this knowledge and with a grateful heart I have for this knowledge that I just say, thank you, God. Thank you for bringing out the child in me. Thank you for making me see with those clear eyes. So I just let this word go into that law that knows only to say yes to my every demand. I let it go. I say, thank you, God. Thank you, thank you. And so it is.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one in the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God.
Yes, so as the ushers come forward, let's just know that this is our opportunity to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, that one power, God. Let's just take a moment and say thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for all of those who are not here and still support our center by way of donations on the website or mailing them in or coming down and dropping them off in person. We bless these gifts, these tithes, these offerings, knowing they're given from the central core of who we are, which is God made manifest on this plane. We send them forward with no strings, no conditions to do their great work in the world. So it is.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love. everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I've seen life so clearly now. So get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Here I am, closer, closer, closer than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.
Wow. Tommy Cosentino once again, our very own Tommy Cosentino. Let's just know this together. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
I see it with my child eyes.
I see it with my child's eyes.
I love it.
I love it.
I accept it.
I accept it.
I live for it.
I live for it.
I believe it.
I believe it.
I know it.
I know it.
I'm looking forward to more of it.
I'm looking forward to more of it.
Thank you, God, in me.